Recently, the Australia's Ministry of Agriculture had official document to allow lychee import from Vietnam to the Australian market. After 12 years of negotiations, the market, which is considered to be strict, now welcome Vietnam's lychee. This is a great news and an opportunity for northern growers in this season. According to the Vietnam Trade Office in Australia, within a week from June 12 to the 19th, 2015, nearly 17 tons of Vietnamese lychee were shipped to Australia. 12 tons of lychee from Red Dragon Company were shipped to Melbourne and 1 ton of testing lychee from Thiên Anh Minh and Frosty to Sydney.
Năm nay thì Rồng Đỏ đang gửi hàng đã chào vào Canada, vào Mỹ, vào Úc, vào châu Âu, thì cũng gửi mẫu vào Singapore, thì tất cả đang giai đoạn chờ phản hồi từ khách hàng. Rồng Đỏ năm nay hợp đồng với bà con nông dân thì chính là tiêu thụ thị trường nội địa, bán vào các hệ thống siêu thị lớn ở thành phố Hồ Chí Minh và đang xúc tiến công việc để mà hoàn thành nhiệm vụ cho bà con, đang thu mua của bà con.
Đầu ra của nhà tôi năm nay thì là được cái là vườn vải của tôi năm nay là tôi rất là mừng. Thì thôi thì cái là đẹp là do tôi cách chăm bón là cũng là do một phần là thời tiết thuận tiết thì người ta thì cũng thuận, như nhà tôi ở gần đây thì là sông nước thì nó thuận hơn. Thế mới lại được sự chăm bón của các bác ấy chỉ đạo chăm bón. Thế nên là nhà tôi được sai mà đẹp hơn mọi nhà khác. Thế nên là giá cả thì tôi cũng bán được đắt hơn mọi bà con. Vì là của nhà tôi chất lượng tốt mà đảm bảo an toàn thực phẩm, mới không dư lượng thuốc sâu.
Australia is one of the countries with the strict quarantine regulations around the world. At the present, lychee is the first fresh fruit of Vietnam to get import license. This shows the potential to promote Vietnam's lychee particularly and other agricultural products generally in Australia in the future.
Hello and welcome to Sharing Vietnam on VTC10 Netviet. In our program today, we have a talk to Mr. Hugh Borrowman, Australian ambassador to Vietnam, and he will share about the topic of the opportunities of exporting Vietnamese fruit to Australian market. Thank you, Mr. Hugh Borrowman, for joining our program today. Recently, Australia has opened door to Vietnam's lychee to penetrate the market, and the first package of Vietnamese lychees were officially exported to Australia. What do you think about this?
I think it's a great development. It represents the culmination of many years' work on both sides to get the market opened, and it's got to be a good thing. Increasing the trade between the two countries is a good thing. Making Vietnamese produce available in Australia is a good thing. Well, certainly talking to the growers and the People's Committee in Bạc Sang yesterday, they are very happy with the process that has been undertaken. In fact, I should also say I was at a function earlier this week with the Deputy President of Vietnam, and she made a point of thanking Australia for the work that we had done on lychees. But the same process that works for Australia now works for the USA and it works for France. There were a number of other ambassadors with me in Bạc Sang, and I know that Bạc Sang has very active plans to grow the market to other countries.
What are the main requirements of Australian market that Vietnamese lychee need to meet to get exported?
Australia is an island. It has been isolated from other pests and diseases in the world for many, many hundreds of years. Mm-hmm. So we have very, very strong biosecurity systems, and produce from all over the world has to meet very strict biosecurity standards so that we don't introduce pests and diseases into Australia. And in that sense, lychees going into Australia have to be treated, they're irradiated to make sure that doesn't happen. I might add, it's the first time that Australia has ever imported irradiated fruit, so it's really quite a significant technical advance, and we're very pleased to be able to do it with Vietnam. I think the other way of answering the question is that the requirements are for fresh, high-quality produce, and that's clearly what Vietnam has in its lychees.
Can you share more about the distribution channels for Vietnamese lychee after being exported?
Well, it's a very quick process, and I saw this in practice yesterday. I visited Bắc Giang and visited a lychee farm. The lychees come off the trees into boxes, into trucks, down to Ho Chi Minh. They're irradiated. They go on the plane overnight. Essentially, they're on shelves in Australia the next day. Now, Australia, as your viewers will know, is a very large country, so then there's internal distribution arrangements. But the market in Australia will bear the cost that entails, and that gets returned to the people in the production chain.
So what are the feedbacks of Australian market for a Vietnamese lychee after exported?
I haven't got any direct feedback from the shelves yet. This was just a few days ago, but certainly I can attest that Australians are very keen on high quality fruit and vegetables. There's a very good market for it, and having the privilege of living in Vietnam and eating Vietnamese lychees, I can say that they're absolutely of the highest quality. Perhaps another thing to remember here is that because Vietnam is in the northern hemisphere and we're in the southern, Australia does grow its own lychees, but it's a different season. So when our season stops, your season starts. So this means that lychees will be available throughout the year for Australian consumers.
Right.
In the first half of June 2015, Vietnam lychee is the outstanding agricultural produce when being exported to two tough markets, namely Australia and France, starting a reap success. Bắc Giang and Hải Dương are two of the key provinces in the productions and export of lychee to Australia. To ensure a stable source of lychee and meet international standards, the planting lychee farms to Australia concentrated mainly in Lục Ngạn district, Bắc Giang, and Thanh Hà district, Hải Dương province. Households are given different code to cultivate lychee in accordance with two standards for agricultural practices globally and in Vietnam, Global GAP and Viet GAP.
Năm nay đây thì có những cái nét mới là chúng tôi cũng đã xây dựng cái mô hình, hai cái mô hình sản xuất vải đủ tiêu chuẩn xuất khẩu đi Mỹ và vải sản xuất theo Global GAP. Chúng tôi cũng duy trì khoảng hơn gần 250 hectare là sản xuất vải theo quy trình Việt Gáp và được chứng nhận. Và khoảng hơn 2.000 hectare là nông dân được tập huấn và sản xuất theo hướng Việt Gáp. Thế cho nên là cùng với cái việc mà chúng tôi đã tuyên truyền tập huấn rất là kỹ cho nông dân, chuẩn bị rất là kỹ lưỡng, thì năm nay là không những bà con nông dân thì cái nhận thức về cái sản xuất theo cái an toàn, theo quy trình Việt Gáp và những quy trình khác đảm bảo cho những thị trường khó tính như là Mỹ, như Úc, như EU, thì cái nhận thức của những người dân, người tiêu dùng trên thị trường và về cái sản phẩm mà đạt tiêu chuẩn an toàn cũng đã được tăng lên.
Australia has the population of 23 million people, of which 11.2% consume lychee. Therefore, the market opportunity for lychee is still expanding. However, the lychee is very perishable fruit, so the cultivation and custody of lychee must meet the strict requirements of Australia's Ministry of Agriculture to boost export.
Được cái tinh thần này thì là tỉnh và huyện đã tập trung chỉ đạo để sản xuất vải thiều đạt cái tiêu chuẩn GAP để xuất khẩu sang Mỹ và Úc. Thì trong quá trình sản xuất này thì là nó có mấy cái mới, tức là một là các cái hộ sản xuất, các cái vườn sản xuất đấy thì một là không được nuôi gia súc gia cầm ở trong vườn. Cái thứ hai là không được trồng xen các loại cây khác vào cây vải thiều. Cái thứ ba là tất cả các cái vệ sinh chuồng trại ở trong vườn đều phải sạch sẽ. Cho nên là cái mới đầu ấy thì bà con nông dân cũng bỡ ngỡ, nhưng mà sau một vụ sản xuất thì hiện nay cái này bà con nông dân đã làm quen. Cái này là rất là tốt.
The success of export lychee to Australian market will also open up new opportunities for some other fruits, such as dragon fruit, mango, and longans. Today, together with lychee, Vietnamese fruits were exported to more than 100 countries and territories, of which 28 countries are from the European Union. This is a great effort of Vietnam in promoting unique agricultural produces to the potential markets.
In your opinion, what are the benefits for Vietnam to get lychee exported to Australian market?
I guess there are a number of benefits. The most immediate benefit is, of course, the return to the growers, that for that lychee season, the farmers of Bắc Giang have an additional source of export and produce. I was also very struck in Bắc Giang yesterday that the annual production of Bắc Giang is about 166,000 tonnes. Australia in the last 2 weeks has already taken 16 tonnes. So in 2 weeks we've taken 1% of the production. So that shows there's a potential for an enormous growth in the market with returns back to the farmers. I think the bigger question is that it's improving trade between Australia and Vietnam, and that's a good thing. Trade is good for countries. Where you have trade, you have investment, you have growth, you have economic growth, you have better conditions for people, and again, that has to be a good thing.
What will the lychee export contribute to the bilateral trade between Vietnam and Australia?
Well, at the moment, it will only contribute a small amount. The bilateral trade between Australia and Vietnam, I'm very pleased to report, is over $8 billion a year. But of course, this is just opening the market both for lychees and hopefully for increase in other trade in fruit and vegetables between the two countries.
So apart from lychee, what are the opportunities for other Vietnamese foods which has potential to penetrate into Australian market?
Well, the way that system works is that Vietnam asks Australia for access to fruit so that the relevant biosafety protocols can be done. Lychees was the first thing that was asked for, and we've now been able to do that. Mangoes is the second thing that has been asked for, and we expect to have that, the processes for that completed by the end of the year. So I'm very optimistic that by the end of the year we will also see Vietnamese mangoes on sale in Australia. The third product that has been requested by Vietnam is dragon fruit. That's a little bit more difficult for us because we've never imported dragon fruit from anywhere, so it requires a whole lot more work. But so the path for growth in the fruit and veg, as requested by Vietnam, is lychees, which we've done, mangoes next, and then dragon fruit.
Can you share about the export policy of Australian government for Vietnam to export fruits stably in the near future?
Well, I think my first response to that is the main responsibility for the export policy of Vietnam is with Vietnam. And Vietnam has to focus on how it wants to prosecute its trading interests. As I said before, in respect of Australia, Vietnam has made 3 specific requests for us, and we're very keen to process those. But I think the broader answer to your question goes back to where we started, that increasing trade between the two countries is good in both directions. Australian beef, for example, has grown very, very strongly into the Vietnamese market over the last couple of years. We would like to see an increase in trade and investment across the board, and we're very happy to work with Vietnam in whatever forum to make that happen.
Thank you, Mr. Hugh Borrowman, for joining our program today. And that is also the end of our program Sharing Vietnam. For comments and feedbacks, please send it to sharingvietnam@netviet.tv.net. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again tomorrow.